2:43 a.m. local time, a lone B-2 Spirit slices through the jet-black skies over the Middle East. No navigation lights, no radar signature, just the faint hum of twin engines whispering across the stratosphere at 50,000 feet. But what makes this mission historic isn't the stealth technology or the emergency nature of the flight. It's who's inside the cockpit. This isn't a drill. Minutes earlier, at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, a critical alert had just gone out. U.S. satellite systems picked up unusual activity near Iran's underground nuclear sites in Natanz and Isfahan. Within 15 minutes, the order was given: scramble the B-2, and the only qualified crew ready to go was an all-female team. No headlines, no press briefings. While the world slept, two women suited up in silence, locked their oxygen masks, and climbed into one of America's most advanced war machines. Their mission: cross thousands of miles undetected, enter hostile airspace, and prevent what could become the next major regional war. There would be no backup, no second chance. And in 6 minutes, they'd crossed the point of no return. The warning signs had been building for days. U.S. intelligence analysts had tracked a sudden spike in encrypted communications between Iranian military installations and missile defense sites. At 2:28 a.m., a classified hyperspectral satellite picked up heat signatures suggesting high-energy transfers deep beneath the Natanz nuclear complex, evidence of weapons-grade material being moved, or worse, prepared for testing. It wasn't just a threat, it was a countdown, and time was running out. Military advisors at CENTCOM drafted a rapid response option known as silent reprisal, a limited precision strike intended to neutralize the threat without igniting a full-scale war. Only one aircraft in the U.S. arsenal could carry out such a mission with surgical precision and remain undetected through the heart of Iranian airspace: the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. The plan required more than just firepower. It demanded flawless navigation, absolute timing, and nerves of steel. The margin for error? Less than 5 seconds. Why the urgency? Because at the very moment the B-2 was taking off from Whiteman, an Iranian S-300 missile battery was going hot near Isfahan. New intelligence confirmed that if U.S. assets didn't act within the next 8 hours, a shipment of nuclear components would be transferred to an underground storage facility, beyond the reach of conventional weaponry. What made this strike even riskier was that American and Israeli officials had publicly denied any plans for intervention. That meant no diplomatic cover, no admission. If something went wrong, the crew would be alone. No rescue, no acknowledgement. And yet, at the center of this geopolitical chessboard, two American women trained for this exact moment were calmly adjusting course, reviewing infrared imagery, and calculating missile threat envelopes, all in near total radio silence. They weren't just flying a mission, they were threading a needle through a powder keg. And with every mile closer to Iranian airspace, the stakes rose, not just for them, but for the entire region. Inside the pressurized, windowless cockpit of the B-2 Spirit, lit only by soft green instrument glow, sat two of the most highly trained pilots in the U.S. Air Force. Captain Jenna Ghost Sullivan, 34, was in the left seat. Known among her peers as a master of precision under pressure, Jenna had logged over 100 hours in the B-2 and had trained on deep penetration nuclear strike scenarios for the past 6 years. She wasn't just a pilot, she was a mission planner, strategist, and one of only 10 women to ever fly the Spirit. This was her 5th mission over contested territory, but the first with stakes this high. To her right sat Lieutenant Cara Mendoza, 29, a former aerospace engineer turned weapons officer. She was known for her calm demeanor and near-superhuman focus. While others broke under the strain of 30-hour sorties and zero-margin missions, Cara thrived in it. Just 6 months ago, she returned from maternity leave and passed every physical and cognitive readiness test with record scores. Their bond wasn't just professional, it was forged through shared pain, sacrifice, and the silent knowledge that in the cockpit of a B-2, gender doesn't matter. Precision does. Endurance does. Mission success does. Both women had earned the coveted Spirit number, a code designation given only to those who had piloted the B-2. As of 2025, fewer than 600 pilots had ever received one. Only 12 of them were women, and now 2 of those 12 were on the sharpest edge of American air power. No press, no medals, no headlines. Just two professionals executing a mission that couldn't fail. As the Spirit moved deeper into contested airspace, Kara whispered into the comms, "Altitude stable, radar cross-section clean, we're ghosted." And with that, two women vanished into the dark, on a collision course with history. The mission would take nearly 32 hours round trip. There would be no landing, no stops, just sky, silence, and systems. 6 hours into the flight, the B-2 Spirit refueled over the Mediterranean under complete radio blackout. A KC-135 Stratotanker rendezvoused with them above international waters, guided only by encrypted transponder pulses and onboard precision flight software. The two aircraft never exchanged words. Refueling in the dark is like threading a needle while flying blind. But Jenna and Kara made it look easy, locking in at 500 miles per hour, 27,000 feet above sea level, barely 3 feet between the booms and hulls. One mistake, and the aircraft could tear itself apart. They flew just above Iranian radar domes, staying low enough to avoid satellite locks, but high enough to conserve fuel and avoid surface-to-air threats. At this altitude, even a slight drop in cabin pressure could mean death in seconds. The cockpit was pressurized and climate-controlled, but the psychological weight, that was entirely theirs to bear. Inside the B-2, there's no autopilot you can sleep through, no room to stretch. Every 5 minutes, a checklist. Every 60 seconds, a system recheck. Eyes scan the instrument panels. Hands hover above weapons interfaces. Every vibration, every blink of a light, could mean life or death. Halfway through their journey, Iranian early warning radars near Evasion pinged with brief flashes of something. A ghost signature. Faint, almost imperceptible. A defense officer dismissed it as a sensor glitch. Too small, too fast, too quiet. The B-2's radar cross-section is smaller than a bird. By the time they even wondered if something was there, it was already past them. But just as the team neared their strike vector, a new threat emerged. A pair of Iranian Su-35s scrambled from an airbase near Shiraz after a NATO listening post intercepted chatter about a possible shadow in the sky. Their objective? Investigate. Intercept if necessary. Jenna's voice stayed calm. Vector shift. Descend 300 feet. Cut thermal signature by 40%. We'll ghost them. The Spirit adjusted silently, venting residual heat through its wing-trailing edges, vanishing into the cold air currents of the upper atmosphere. The Su-35s never saw it. Not with their eyes. Not with radar. The ghost was already gone. Meanwhile, back in Whiteman, a mission controller watched his screen flash green. Target window in T-38 minutes. No deviations. They're still dark. No deviations, no detection, no doubt. And somewhere over Iran, two women kept flying, knowing that if they failed, no one was coming to bring them home. It was 3:19 a.m. over Tehran. After nearly 15 hours in the air, the B-2 Spirit began its final descent toward the target. Beneath them, buried deep in a mountain near Natanz, was a hardened nuclear facility believed to be housing critical components for a weapons program that had eluded surveillance for years. Intelligence reports were clear. If that site wasn't neutralized tonight, it would soon be unreachable. Inside the cockpit, dimly lit by glowing green controls, Kara adjusted her screen. The payload was armed. A massive ordnance penetrator. 30,000 pounds of precision steel and explosives. Designed not to explode on impact, but to dig through concrete, soil, and steel before detonating where it would hurt most. Just as coordinates were being locked in, the warning tone echoed across the cockpit. GPS interference. Signal degraded. Iranian jammers had found them. But Kara didn't flinch. Her fingers moved fast, switching from satellite targeting to terrain matching mode. The B-2's onboard cameras scanned the Earth below, comparing every hill, ridge, and crevice to a digital topographic map burned into the system's memory. This wasn't just flying, it was combat math at 600 miles per hour. Every second counted. Every degree of pitch, every knot of speed, every gust of upper-level wind had to be accounted for manually. There would be no second chance. No laser guidance, no backup team. Jenna glanced over, voice low and calm. "You good?" Kara nodded. Lining up final vector, 20 seconds. The bomb bay doors opened. High above the Iranian plateau, the jet adjusted slightly, just 3 degrees to the left. 2 down. The crosshairs on Kara's screen began to settle. The release window would last only 4 seconds. Too soon, and the MOP would overshoot. Too late, and the aircraft might be exposed to enemy radar or worse. 10 seconds, Kara whispered. Jenna held her breath. 7, 5, 3, 2, click. The moment was so quiet, so smooth, it was almost surreal. No roar, no shaking, just the faint shift in balance as the 30,000-pound weapon dropped away, silent, invisible, falling toward its target with the precision of a scalpel. They didn't stay to watch. They didn't need to. Jenna pulled the B-2 into a steep climb, banking west. The jet began its exit maneuver, already changing altitude and heading before anyone on the ground even realized what had happened. And 30 seconds later, the earth shook, not from impact, but from consequence. 30 seconds after release, the ground beneath Natanz trembled. Deep underground, the massive ordnance penetrator struck with surgical precision. It pierced through meters of reinforced concrete, pulverized steel bulkheads, and shattered the internal chambers of a facility designed to withstand bunker-busting missiles. But this wasn't just any missile. This was a message. Sensors at listening posts across the region picked up the tremor. A dull, delayed rumble rolled across the Iranian plateau. Surveillance drones captured a faint plume of dust rising from what appeared to be solid mountain. But inside that rock, a billion-dollar program, now nothing but twisted metal and scorched circuits. Back in the cockpit, Kara confirmed telemetry. Impact confirmed. Secondary heat signature. That's our strike. Jenna didn't say a word. She was already banking the aircraft into its return path, hugging the edge of radar envelopes, staying low, staying dark. On the ground, Iranian radar crews scrambled to understand what had happened. Some thought it was an earthquake. Others scanned for inbound cruise missiles. No one expected a stealth bomber to have flown thousands of miles, dropped the most powerful conventional bomb in existence, and disappeared without a trace. By the time surface-to-air missile sites even came online, the B-2 was already 80 miles away. No alarms had sounded. No interceptors had been scrambled in time. No response was possible, and that's the terrifying beauty of the B-2. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give you a chance. It's not built for dogfights or missile duels. It's built to erase a target before the world knows it was ever there. At CENTCOM headquarters, the mission screen quietly updated. Target destroyed. Aircraft status en route. Crew stable. No celebration, no press release, just silence. Because that's how ghosts operate. Back at Whiteman Air Force Base, the runway lights were dimmed for the incoming aircraft. The base had been on blackout status since the mission began. Inside the command center, a single officer watched the B-2's final telemetry trace arc across the screen and whispered, almost to himself, "They made it." 31 hours in the sky, no rest, no spotlight, no applause. But tonight, 2 women rewrote history, and no one even saw them coming. Not because of enemy fire, not because of technical failure, but because of exhaustion, the kind that seeps into your bones after 31 hours in a pressurized metal shell, where every breath is filtered, every movement calculated, and every second could change the course of global events. Over the North Arabian Sea, a second refueling rendezvous was waiting. Another KC-135, silent, steady, dependable. The boom connected cleanly, refilling the Spirit's tanks as both aircraft soared through the pre-dawn sky. It was a ballet of machines, performed in radio silence, lit only by moonlight and trust. Jenna and Kara said little. They didn't need to. Every checklist was executed. Every protocol followed. Their minds had shifted from attack mode to survival, watching fuel flow, monitoring engine temps, checking crosswinds for the final descent back home. At exactly 7:06 p.m. Central Time, the silhouette of the B-2 appeared over Missouri. The skies were calm, the base was quiet, no sirens, no fanfare, just the soft whine of landing gear deploying and the whisper of tires kissing concrete. The Spirit touched down like a ghost returning from the dead. As the aircraft rolled to a stop, maintenance crews moved in silently. Flight logs were taken. Systems powered down. The cockpit canopy opened slowly. 2 helmets emerged, silhouetted against the orange wash of hangar lights. They didn't step out like heroes. They stepped out like professionals. One of the techs reached up to help Kara down. She smiled faintly and shook her head. She'd climbed down herself. Jenna followed, quiet, eyes steady, feet planted back on American soil. In the mission debrief, there would be data, charts, fuel burn analysis, threat assessments. But no one would ever be able to fully chart what these 2 women had just done, because sometimes the greatest missions leave no visible trace, and that was the point. They didn't return for recognition. They returned because that was the job. And the job was done. Not every war story is told with explosions. Some are told in silence, in the hum of engines, in the precision of execution, in the calm breath of a pilot who knows the world depends on her, not flinching. What happened that night over Iran won't appear in headlines. It won't lead the evening news. There are no medals pinned in public ceremonies, no speeches made from podiums. But in quiet rooms behind locked doors, a few commanders know the truth. The course of a crisis was changed by 2 women flying through the dark. Captain Jenna Sullivan and Lieutenant Kara Mendoza didn't ask to make history. They just wanted to do their job and do it better than anyone else. And that's exactly what they did. They flew the longest stealth combat mission of the decade. They delivered the most precise bomb drop in modern warfare, and they returned without a scratch. But more than that, they shattered something far more permanent than concrete. The old idea that courage has a gender. Because that night, 2 women didn't just fly a mission, they led it. And they proved once again that when it comes to defending freedom, skill and grit aren't male or female, they're earned. The next time someone talks about American air power, about precision, about speed, about unstoppable reach, they'll mention the B-2. They'll talk about its shape, its tech, its silence. But maybe, just maybe, they'll also remember who sat in the cockpit that night. 2 voices, 2 hands, 2 warriors in the dark. And when the world needed quiet strength the most, they answered.